Elmridge Drive was notorious for many things. Its winding roads, treacherous turns, and its history. But for Dean, a cab driver, the tales of the haunted stretch were nothing more than old wives' tales. Every night for 5 years, he had driven through Elmridge, ferrying passengers home. But in the past 6 months, something changed. Like clockwork, at precisely 2:17 a.m., Dean would spot them, a man in a crumpled suit and a woman in a vintage red dress, always arguing by the side of the road. Their voices were always inaudible, and their faces obscured by shadows. The scene was so consistent it felt rehearsed. Dean mentioned it at the local diner, only to be met with pale faces and hushed whispers. An old man named Mr. Finch cleared his throat. 40 years ago, there was a car crash on Elmridge. A couple in a classic '56 Chevy had a heated argument, lost control, and crashed. Neither survived. Dean's heart raced. The couple he'd been seeing, could they be those ill-fated lovers? His rational mind argued against it, but the coincidences piled up. One evening, as Dean drove a particularly quiet woman named Clara, she suddenly said, "Stop the car." Startled, Dean complied. They were near the exact spot where he'd seen the arguing couple. The air grew cold. In the rear-view mirror, Dean saw Clara's face contorted in pain. "We need to help them," she whispered. Dean, feeling an irresistible pull, stepped out. Sure enough, there they were, the couple, louder and more frantic than ever. This time, he could hear their words. "Why did you lie?" the woman screamed. The man's voice was desperate. "Please, Mary Ann. Just get in the car. We'll go home." Mary Ann, sobbing, stepped towards the road just as the headlights of a speeding car appeared in the distance. Reacting instinctively, Dean tried to pull her back, but his hands passed through her. He felt a chill, an overwhelming sadness, and then nothing. As the car passed by, its headlights revealed an empty road, save for a terrified Clara and a dazed Dean. Back in the cab, Clara's voice trembled. "They're trapped in that loop, Dean. Their last painful moments. You've seen it. Now, you've felt it." Dean, still reeling, managed to say, Who are you?" Clara sighed. "I'm their daughter. I was only 5 when they died. My grandparents raised me. Every year, on the anniversary of their death, I come here, hoping for I don't know, closure. But tonight, with you, it felt different." Dean swallowed hard. "I've been seeing them for months, every night." "Why?" "Maybe you're the key. Someone they don't know, an outsider to help break the cycle. Will you help them, Dean?" With a deep breath, he nodded. The next evening, armed with sage, salt, and determination, Dean and Clara stood on Elmridge Drive. At 2:17 a.m., the scene began to unfold. As the argument reached its peak, Dean began to chant, sprinkling salt in a circle around them. Clara joined him, holding up a faded photograph of the couple, looking happy, holding a baby. "Mom, Dad, it's me. Please, find peace." The scene around them began to warp. The couple, Mary Ann and her partner, turned to face Clara. Tears streaked Mary Ann's face. "Our baby, we're so sorry." Clara, crying, whispered, "It's okay. I forgive you. I love you. Please, move on." With a gust of wind and a bright light, the couple faded away, leaving behind an eerily calm Elmridge Drive. The nights that followed were different. Elmridge was just a road again, with no haunting specters. Clara left town, leaving behind a note for Dean. "Thank you, Dean. My parents are at peace, and so am I. I hope you find your own peace on Elmridge Drive." And indeed he did. For while Dean continued to drive his cab through the winding roads of Elmridge, he never again saw the tragic couple. But sometimes, just sometimes, when the clock struck 2:17 a.m., he'd feel a gentle warmth, a soft touch, as if someone was thanking him. Lisa had a habit of checking her rear-view mirror frequently, more out of caution than paranoia. The roads of Pine Street were tricky, with many alleys and side lanes. making it a favored spot for sudden break-ins or accidents. One evening, as the purple hues of twilight faded, Lisa felt an odd sensation, like she was being watched. She checked her rear-view mirror and noticed a car with tinted windows tailing her. It was probably a coincidence, after all, it was a public road. But when she made the next 3 turns, and the car followed suit, Lisa's heartbeat quickened. She tried recalling if she had angered anyone, or if someone might have a reason to follow her. Drawing a blank, Lisa decided to test her theory. She took a series of random turns, each more erratic than the last. Still, the mysterious car clung to her, like a shadow in the dark. Trying to calm her rising panic, Lisa called her friend Jenna, who lived a few blocks away. "Jenna, I think someone's following me. I'm driving to your place. Please wait for me outside." But as she approached Jenna's house, she noticed her friend's silhouette on the porch, but another silhouette next to her. Heart pounding, Lisa veered away, not stopping to see who it was. The car still tailing her, Lisa's thoughts raced. Could she reach the police station? It was a risk, given she'd have to drive across town. Nevertheless, she pushed her foot on the gas and sped in that direction. The roads were mostly empty, the silence punctuated only by the hum of her engine, and the persistent presence of the car in her rear view. As she neared the police station, she felt a rush of relief, only to see the lights off and the entrance barricaded. A power outage. Desperate, Lisa thought of her childhood home, a place she hadn't been to in years, and for good reason. But it had many hiding spots and a back exit that could allow her to escape. With little choice, she drove there, hoping the mysterious driver didn't know its layout as she did. The old house loomed like a forgotten relic. Mustering her courage, Lisa parked her car haphazardly and sprinted inside, locking the door behind her. She watched from the window as the car slowly pulled up. The driver's door opened, but no one came out. Minutes felt like hours. The only sound was the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hallway. Then, a tap on the window. Lisa stifled a scream. On the windowsill was an old photograph of her, around 7 years old, playing in the very room she stood in. Attached was a note, "I've been waiting for you." Dread filled Lisa. She remembered an old family tale of a relative, someone who had gone mad, living in the woods and sometimes sneaking into the house. Could this be him? Had he come back for some twisted reason? Clutching a kitchen knife, Lisa summoned the will to confront her pursuer. She opened the front door slowly, peering into the darkness. The car stood there, engine humming, but no sign of the driver. Suddenly, a hand clamped over her mouth from behind, pulling her inside. The familiar scent of Jenna's perfume was unmistakable. "It's me," Jenna whispered, releasing her grip. Lisa, in shock, stammered, "Why? How?" Jenna looked distressed. "The silhouette at my house, it was my brother. He saw the car following you and wanted to warn me. I tried calling you, but your phone was dead. I came here, thinking you might seek refuge." "But, the photo? The note?" Jenna hesitated. "I put it there. I wanted to remind you of the good old days. The note, though that wasn't me." Both women felt a chill. Somewhere inside the house, a floorboard creaked. They weren't alone. The two women carefully made their way to the back exit. But as they reached the back door, a figure stepped into the dim light, an older man with a striking resemblance to Lisa. "I've been waiting for you," he echoed the note's message, his voice raspy. Lisa, connecting the dots, whispered, "Uncle Evan." Evan, who had been presumed dead, nodded. "I never wanted to harm you. I just wanted to see you one last time." Lisa, tears forming, responded, "Why like this?" Evan looked away. "I lost my way, in the woods and in my mind. But some part of me remembered you." Jenna, seeing the raw emotion, discreetly slipped away, calling the police. The sirens wailed in the distance as Lisa and her long-lost Uncle Evan sat, two silhouettes in the dark, catching up on lost time. Henry, a meticulous man, had his life organized down to the last minute. Every night after work, he'd drive the same route home, always ensuring he was back by 7 p.m. But one chilly November evening, an anomaly threw his precise routine into chaos. Driving under the dark underpass on Miller's Road, a route he had taken countless times before, he was enveloped in a sudden, unnaturally thick fog. The world seemed too still and silent, except for the rhythmic beat of his car's engine. When he finally emerged, he expected to find the familiar landmarks of his neighborhood, but was instead met with the radiant sun high in the sky. Confused, Henry checked his car clock. It blinked 12 o'clock. His wristwatch, however, confirmed his fears. It read 10 a.m., 15 hours from when he entered the tunnel. Horrified, he sped home, hoping this was a cruel prank or a vivid dream. But as he entered his driveway, he found the daily newspaper already delivered, clearly dated the next day. His answering machine blinked with a full day's worth of messages, friends, work, even a worried call from his sister. The tunnel had swallowed a day of his life. Haunted by the incident, Henry became obsessed with understanding what had happened. The next evening, armed with a flashlight, a camcorder, and his unwavering determination, he decided to retrace his drive. As he approached the tunnel, he felt a deep chill despite the heater in his car being at full blast. Once inside, the same fog enveloped him, and he felt a weightless sensation, as if time and space were bending around him. When he emerged, he immediately checked his watch. Another day had passed. The camcorder had bizarrely recorded 24 hours of footage in mere minutes. Distraught but more determined, Henry sought experts. He consulted geologists, thinking maybe a magnetic field anomaly. He spoke to local historians, uncovering old tales of a village that once stood where the tunnel now lies, and of mysterious disappearances linked to the area. But most dismissed him, considering his story a result of stress or a vivid imagination. But one person didn't. Clara, an elderly woman known to possess knowledge about the town's more mystical occurrences. She spoke of the tunnel acting as a portal between realms, and those who pass might experience slippages in time. Fueled by a mix of fear and intrigue, Henry decided to challenge the tunnel's power. He wanted answers. This time, he drove into the tunnel with a plan. His car was rigged with multiple clocks, cameras, and a GPS tracker, hoping to capture any shift in time or location. But as the familiar fog began to cloud around him, Henry felt not just the warping of time, but also an overwhelming presence. Whispered voices filled the car, murmuring stories of the past, regrets, and pleas for the return of lost time. The weightlessness was accompanied by a sensation of being pulled in multiple directions. When he emerged, he was met with the sight of a town square he didn't recognize, bustling with people in old-fashioned clothes, horse-drawn carriages, and not a single modern car in sight. The tunnel had thrown him back in time. Terrified, he decided to return through the tunnel, praying it would take him back to his own time. But emerging on the other side, while the fog was gone, and the surroundings were more recognizable, it was not his world. The technology was more advanced, the skies filled with drones and vehicles he couldn't even begin to understand. Henry realized the tunnel didn't just steal hours or days, it could traverse centuries. Each trip became riskier as he tried desperately to return to his own time, facing the horrors of wars he'd only read about, seeing futures that were at once wondrous and nightmarish. With each attempt, he was met with different realities, further and further from the life he knew. Clara's words echoed in his mind, "Time isn't linear in the tunnel. Every journey you take splinters reality, creating countless timelines." Haunted by his mistakes and weary from his travels, Henry finally emerged into a timeline that felt almost right. But minor discrepancies, a different president, new skyscrapers, the absence of certain historical events told him he was still not in his original world. Henry finally accepted his fate. He could never return to his exact old life. But he had garnered a profound respect for the fragility of time and the tapestry of existence. The tunnel remained a silent enigma, its secrets guarded closely. Locals began to speak of the haunted underpass on Miller's Road, where a lone man could often be seen, standing at the entrance, looking in with a mixture of fear and reverence, a cautionary tale of curiosity, and the price one might pay for challenging the mysteries of time. As the clock ticks towards dawn, this is Midnight Callers signing off, reminding you, when darkness falls, the stories rise. Sleep tight, if you dare.